The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council stretched before Ambassador Marcus Chen like a vast amphitheater of judgment. Representatives from 47 species filled the crystalline tiers, their varied forms creating a kaleidoscope of alien biology. Crystalline Valthans chimed softly as they shifted, while the towering Korthak delegates cast shadows with their obsidian carapaces. The air hummed with translated whispers in a dozen different frequencies. At the center of it all, Marcus stood alone at the defendant's podium. "The charges are clear," announced Chancellor Vexhai, her serpentine form coiled atop the highest platform. Her four eyes fixed on the human with barely concealed disgust. "Humanity stands accused of excessive force in the Kepler 442 incident. Your species eliminated not just the Ravager fleet, but their entire homeworld. 3 billion lives, Ambassador Chen. Gone." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds, clicking, buzzing, harmonic resonances that served as various species' expressions of outrage. Marcus remained still, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, gray eyes steady beneath salt and pepper brows. "The Galactic Accords specifically prohibit planetary annihilation," continued the Chancellor once the noise subsided. "Yet humanity deployed what you call a stellar cascade weapon against Ravager Prime. Your justification was that it would end the threat permanently. Tell us, human, where was your mercy?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Marcus had expected this moment for months, ever since humanity's desperate gambit had saved the Kepler colonies but horrified the galaxy. He'd rehearsed diplomatic answers, crafted careful justifications, prepared legal arguments about proportional response and existential threats. Instead, he found himself thinking of Sarah. "Mercy," Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "You want to know about Mercy?" He looked up at the assembled delegates, seeing the mixture of curiosity and condemnation in their alien features. 3 years ago, my daughter Sarah was stationed on Kepler 442b. She was a xenobiologist, studying the local ecosystem for terraforming compatibility. When the Ravagers came, Marcus paused, swallowing hard. They didn't just attack the colony. They turned it into a hunting ground. The chamber had grown quiet, but Marcus wasn't speaking to them anymore. He was speaking to the memory of a young woman with bright eyes and her mother's smile. The Ravagers kept the colonists alive for weeks. They fed on fear as much as flesh. Sarah managed to send one final message before he stopped, his composure threatening to crack. "She told me she loved me, that she understood, that she forgave me for whatever came next." Chancellor Vexhai's voice carried a note of impatience. "Your personal tragedy does not justify—" "You asked about Mercy," Marcus interrupted, his voice suddenly sharp as a blade. "Let me tell you about Mercy. Mercy is humanity spending 40 years trying diplomacy first. Mercy is us joining your Galactic Council, following your rules, believing your promises that civilized discourse could solve everything." He gestured to the assembled delegates. "Mercy is us pleading with this council for military intervention, while the Ravagers carve through 7 colonies. Mercy is us accepting your measured response of economic sanctions against a species that literally ate our children for sport." The chamber was silent now, a stillness that seemed to press against the walls. "Mercy," Marcus continued, his voice rising, "is humanity watching a dozen species fall to the Ravagers while this council debated the proper protocol for defense. Mercy is us losing 2 million people because we waited for your permission to act." He took a step forward and several delegates unconsciously recoiled. "But you want to know what real mercy is? Real mercy is humanity ending the Ravager threat in one day, instead of letting them continue their 100-year reign of terror. Real mercy is 3 billion quick deaths instead of the slow, agonizing extinction they were bringing to dozens of worlds." The Altarian representative, a being of shifting light, pulsed uncertainly. "But the scale of destruction," Marcus said, "was proportional to the scale of the threat. The Ravagers didn't just kill, they corrupted everything they touched. Their very presence turned worlds into nightmare landscapes where death was preferable to survival. We've seen their bioweapons, their psychological warfare techniques, their complete disregard for any form of life that couldn't scream properly." He looked directly at Chancellor Vexhai. "Your own intelligence reports confirmed they were developing something called a fear plague, a weapon that would have made their previous atrocities look like mercy. How many species would have survived that, Chancellor? How many of your children would have died in agony while we debated proportional response?" The silence stretched on, broken only by the soft crystalline chiming of nervous Velthans. Mercy, Marcus said finally, his voice soft again, isn't always about who you save. Sometimes it's about who you save everyone else from. We didn't destroy Ravager Prime out of revenge, though God knows we had cause. We destroyed it because it was the only way to ensure that what happened to Sarah, to millions like her, would never happen again. He straightened, meeting the gaze of every delegate who would look at him. Humanity learned mercy from you, from this council. We learned it means letting threats fester while we debate. We learned it means sacrificing the innocent to preserve the abstract moral high ground. We learned it means choosing beautiful principles over ugly necessities. The human ambassador's next words fell like stones into still water. So we chose a different mercy. The mercy of mothers who will never have to watch their children be hunted for sport. The mercy of fathers who will never receive their daughter's final transmission. The mercy of a galaxy that will never know the particular horror of a Ravager occupation. Marcus looked around the chamber one final time. You want to condemn us for saving you all? Go ahead. History will remember who acted and who debated while civilizations burned. He stepped back from the podium, his piece said. The silence that followed was absolute, a void that seemed to swallow sound itself. In that moment, every delegate in the chamber understood that they were not judging humanity. Humanity was judging them, and in the terrible mathematics of that judgment, they all knew who had been found wanting.